What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Some crazy news in the sport of boxing. The Brian Vera versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fight has been postponed. Um, this has happened multiple times with Chavez Jr. We have last seen him in the Sergio Martinez fight. He was suspended for a period of time. He tested positive for having marijuana in his system in that Sergio Martinez fight. Um, Pretty much a one-sided affair. Sergio did what he wanted for 11 and a half rounds and got caught being overconfident and almost got knocked out in the 12th round. And we haven't seen Chavez Jr. Again, he tested positive post-fight for marijuana in his system, and he's been suspended ever since. At first, they charged him a hefty fine. I think that fine was reduced. And I did a video where there was a picture of Chavez in Mexico supporting his brother, who also fights, and he looked like he ballooned up in weight, clearly over 200 pounds. And they're supposed to fight Brian Vera, but he has a cut. He received some kind of cut on his eyelid in sparring, and now the fight is on hiatus. The thing that turns me off about Chavez Jr. is, one, he has his father's namesake, and his father's a legend. Um, and I don't feel like he's doing the sport justice based on him personally. He seems spoiled. His work ethic doesn't seem there. Boxing is a very grueling, nasty sport. It's really only meant for the toughest, strongest. You have to have the right mindset. You have to train hard. You can't underestimate people. The moment you do those things, the moment you have a target on your back. Because Chavez Jr., despite any of his accolades, whether you think he hasn't fought anybody, or he sucks, he's a bum, or if you think he's the greatest fighter ever, he still holds his father's namesake. And in the sport of boxing, that's a lot. You got these other guys who are in his division who get half of what he gets, maybe even less than that, for their paychecks. But because of he's the son of a famous legendary fighter, so you basically have these guys who get half of what he gets, maybe even less than that, per fight. And because Chavez Jr. is the son of a legendary Mexican fighter, a legendary boxer, he's automatically catapulted. It's just like in the 80s, Charlie Sheen or Emilio Estevez, their pops was an actor, Martin Sheen, and he was in movies like Apocalypse Now. Because they are the son of a famous Hollywood actor, I'm sure it helps in getting roles because their father is famous and he gets his son into acting. I'm sure casting directors know, hey, Emilio Estevez, Charlie Sheen, that's the son of a famous actor. So again, for Chavez Jr., he has his father's namesake that is gonna always keep him probably relevant, unless he just falls off completely and starts losing every fight or something like that. But he still has his father's namesake, and for that reason, he gets bestowed certain blessings. They probably take care of him. They respect his father. He gets good, nice sized paydays. Even before he had even proven anything or that many fights deep, he was getting bigger paydays based on who he is. And that's how the sport of boxing works. There's a lot of politics. Point being, there's a lot of guys who desire what Chavez Jr. has. Chavez Jr. gets paid a hefty amount of money, and arguably hasn't fought that many people who who basically are going to challenge him. He hasn't fought the best of the best in a lot of people's mind. I'm not here to dispute who his resume or break it down or anything like that, but he gets paid a lofty amount based on that. And there's other people who want that. They want to be on HBO 24/7. They're going to take their career a lot more serious. They're not going to get a DUI in the Andy Lee training camp. They're not going to smoke weed when they know they have a fight and they're getting tested. Or they're not going to take a diuretic because they know it's a banned substance in 2009. These are things that Chavez Jr. does. Again, maybe because he's spoiled, maybe because he lacks discipline, or maybe things have been handed to him on a silver spoon based on who he is. Either way, it's not a good look for the sport, and it's not a good look for Chavez Jr. I'm really anxious and curious to see how Chavez Jr. would be 100% dedicated to the sport of boxing. He obviously has a chin. He was taking monster shots. So it looks like he inherited his father's chin. But we really don't know Chavez Jr.'s true potential because I don't think he places it 110% in boxing. Um, as far as his sparring cut, I mean, it can happen, but it's just a lot of different elements. It sounds like he's not on course because often, sometimes camps will fake an injury or claim an injury or exaggerate an injury based on the fact that they feel their fighter is not ready. Chavez Jr. is coming off a loss to Sergio Martinez. Um, Again, with his father's namesake, they don't want him to come back and take another L. And he's off a long layoff. They're fighting at, I believe, 168 instead of 160 or some kind of catch weight because Chavez Jr. gained so much weight. So they're making it easier for him. And now there's a quote unquote cut on his eyelid that's postponing this fight. So, I mean, this guy's been out of action for quite some time. It's not a good look. All signs lead to it not being a good look. Chavez Jr. needs to get his act together, in my opinion, and really grasp his career, take the bull by the horns, and decide what he wants to do. Do you want to be a professional athlete, a professional boxer, dedicate your life for the time being to the sport, and ride off into the sunset? Or do you want to just dabble in boxing and occasionally get a payday in a fight and just kind of be here? Boxing can be a lucrative career, and he has an opportunity, at least, just like anybody, to step out of their father's shadows. I think Brandon Lee is a good example of this. Bruce Lee, there's obviously no topping Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, he's actually one of my favorites. Bruce Lee is an icon. He's a legend. He was an innovator. He did what other people weren't doing when they weren't doing it. But Brandon Lee made a conscious effort to try to at least step out of his father's shadow, and he died prematurely. Chavez Jr., to me, doesn't really make any attempt to step out of his father's shadow. Obviously, those are big shoes to fill because Chavez Sr. is such a legend, but he could create his own career path, and if he were a little bit more disciplined, less spoiled, I think he would just go a lot further in the sport of boxing. Just little, there's always seems to be some level of disdain or turmoil in his camp, whether it's a DUI or keeping Freddie Roach when he was using Freddie Roach on the hook, and Freddie Roach is mad at him, his trainer's mad at him. Most recently, Chavez Jr. said he doesn't want his dad in his training camp at all and basically fired him, said he's not going to be in the corner. Then he rehired him. Just drama like that. That's not what a fighter needs. So that's my take on it. Let me know what you guys think. Brian Vera versus Chavez Jr. Who wins that fight? As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video's Ego. Signing off.